Welcome everyone to this orientation webinar for this year's online ICNC Rutgers course on People Power, the study of strategic nonviolent resistance. My name is Amber French. I'm the Manager of Editorial Initiatives at the International Center on Nonviolent Conflict. We had a record number of applications this year, over 180. And we have selected a little over 60 students from about 29 countries in almost every region around the world. We at ICNC are excited to welcome you to this course, and we look forward to all of our active participation throughout the next couple of weeks. Our goal today is to review some of the key elements covered in Module 1 and prepare you to be an effective part of the learning community. During this presentation, if you would like to minimize your control panel, let's maybe move to the next slide. You can do so by clicking the little red arrow at the top of your screen that points inward. Just so you know, we will have a question and answer portion at the end of this webinar, and there are two ways to ask questions. One way is that we would ask you to have your microphone or a telephone ready, and if you click the raise hand button, it's the small yellow button you'll see on the side panel. That will alert us that you have a question, and we can unmute you so you can ask your question. Also, throughout the presentation, if you'd like to put into the questions panel on your control panel to just type in your question, we can return to those at the end as well. The other way, one other note is that we have planned for about 30 minutes, but we may go over by a few minutes with questions and answers, and we hope that you'll be able to stick around, but we would understand if not. So that being said, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague Maciej Bartkowski.
Maciej, I believe you're muted.
Here we are. Hi everyone. My name is Maciej Bartkowski. I'm Senior Director for Research and Education at ICNC. And today's agenda is very simple, but rich in content. We will have an introduction of moderators done by Catherine, and we will have one of the academic advisors with us, Professor Kurt Schock, who will introduce himself as well. Then I will go through the schedule. I will show you a bit of the platform, which most of you had access, but we wanted to make sure that everyone is familiar with a number of features that are what that platform enables and offers us. So we will have a bit of a tour. Then we'll briefly talk about what participants can expect from us and what we expect from participants. And then basically we will have a couple of polling and surveys that we would like to do during this conversation with you, and then we'll go to Q&A and ask you to raise your hands if you have any questions, or we'll read your questions.
Okay, so the list that you can see on the board right now on your screen are the forum moderators for this course, which they include academic researchers, civil resistance educators and trainers, activists, and organizers. These folks are made up of the ICNC's Academic Council of Advisors and ICNC's staff members. We'll soon hear from 3 staff members about our first introductions to the field of nonviolent resistance, and then we're going to hear a slightly longer introduction from our Academic Council member, Kurt Schock, who's here, who will be a forum moderator as well. We've asked us to share a little bit about how we got interested in the field of nonviolent resistance, and a little bit of background in why we're interested in moderating the course, and what the hopes are for all of you. So let's go ahead and start with Amber.
Sure, I'll just say that I joined ICNC about 3.5 years ago, and I was interested in the field from the perspective of international relations and seeing how the world changes through people power. And what I hope that you all will get out of the course is connecting with others around the world who are involved and learning from each other.
Okay, next, Maciej.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Poland, and I was growing up when Polish Solidarity movement emerged, and within a couple of weeks, that movement increased to 10 million people that joined a single organization, a single trade union. And I was that time naturally very young, but saw what was happening. Part of my family was also involved in Solidarity, and in fact, this unarmed movement that was waging the struggle when Leonid Brezhnev was still alive, when the doctrine of interventions by the Soviets was still in place. That movement managed to achieve their main objectives. So when I had a chance and opportunity to work on the subject of nonviolent movements, which happened when I joined ICNC in 2009, this kind of interest was revived for me. This also personal kind of connection. And this time I could look in a much more scholarly and strategic way to understand how those movements achieve their victories despite the fact that they seemingly are powerless. So that's kind of a personal angle to my interest and involvement in the field.
And as far as myself, Catherine Hughes-Freytech, I think I've been an activist all my life. I've always kind of looked out and felt people that were oppressed or people that were struggling for justice. And whether it was myself for issues or other people that were friends or allies, I have seen a need to struggle and to fight for the justice and to change things in the world for the better. I was a student activist, and then in the late 1980s, as a grad student in Washington, D.C., I went over with a group of students to see the first Intifada in Palestine and to look at Palestine-Israel. And that impacted me greatly, to realize that my country is giving a lot of tax dollars to this oppression that's going on, to realize the major power imbalance, and to see the amazing nonviolent resistance that the Palestinians and their allies, a lot of also Israeli peace activists, were waging for justice and for rights. And so I ended up doing my master's thesis on the field and using Gene Sharp, and that's where I got to know him and read a lot of his books, and later found out about ICNC. So it's been a passion of mine. I love working with the activists in the field especially. I learned so much from them, and I'm excited to learn more about you and to learn from you as we go on with this course, and hopefully to offer some ideas and some information of my own. So excited to get going with this. So Kurt, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. My name is Kurt Schock. I'm an associate professor of sociology at Rutgers University, Newark, and I co-direct the Rutgers University International Institute for Peace. And this course is a collaboration between ICNC and the Rutgers University International Institute for Peace. There is an option for taking the course for credit, and I encourage you to do so if you're interested. And if you'd like to learn more about the International Institute for Peace or our graduate program in Peace and Conflict Studies, I encourage you to visit our website at iip.rutgers.edu. Okay, a bit about myself. I study social movements from a comparative perspective using both qualitative and quantitative data. I'm especially interested in how acute conflicts can be transformed through nonviolent struggle. In the past, I've written about pro-democracy movements, and currently I'm completing a book manuscript on land reform movements in India and Brazil. In both those countries, there are some really remarkable land rights social movements that have been mobilized in order to put pressure on the government to redistribute land. My current research addresses how land dispossession and inequality can be challenged through nonviolent struggle. And I think this is an important issue because, for one, conflict over land is only going to intensify in the future. And secondly, because it addresses a gap in the literature on civil resistance, which is focused primarily on challenges to authoritarian regimes rather than on challenges to inequality or structural violence. I've served as a course moderator in the past, and I've gained a tremendous amount of knowledge through my interaction with the participants. And I'm certain that you'll learn a lot by participating in this course as well. And I look forward to working with you.
Great, thank you. So I think it's time for a poll, so that you will see a question on your screen, and there are a couple of answers that we would like to offer. So the question is, what activities related to civil resistance have you engaged in during the past 2 years? I'll read through some of the responses as you do as well, but just to give you a little bit of time. Taught or attended a lecture on a civil resistance topic, organized or participated in a nonviolent campaign, wrote a blog post, article, book, or other text on civil resistance, or spoke about civil resistance in a public forum. So please check any that apply, and you can check the box, any boxes that apply. And we will give you a couple of more seconds until we get to about 90% participation. And yeah, I think we can shut it down at this point. There'll be other polls as well. Thank you very much for your responses. It looks like many of you have in particularly taught or attended lectures, as well as organized or participated in an actual campaign, a nonviolent campaign, which is great. But it looks like there is a nice distribution of answers, so lots of different perspectives feeding into this course. I will turn it over to Maciej now.
Great. Okay, so I wanted first to quickly go through the basic steps of registration, getting on our platform, and I understand that many of you have already went through that step, but some of you we receive information that there are still some of you who are trying to access the course. So just for that very purpose, I will go through some of the steps. So all of you received the email notification inviting you to come to the course, and upon clicking on that email, you would get the registration page, and you would register and create your account. And once you create your account, and I have that already open, you will go to the dashboard. You'll be taken to the dashboard, and in the dashboard you will see just one course. I see more courses because I'm registered to a number of the courses that we created, but you will see just the Rutgers Fall 2017 course. And when you click on it, and when you are in the course, you would, I'm recommending that you go first to set up your profile, and you go to your profile, you include your headshot, some information about yourself, and also we recommend that you would go to the account here and set up a two-step authentication to increase security of your account, as well as the security of other participants that are in the course. And basically you would need to have a mobile phone and install the Google Authenticator, and through that step, two-step authentication, you will be much more secure in terms of your account. And if you have any questions regarding this specific tool, let us know. But that's what we would encourage participants to do, to set up this two-factor authentication. So after you had done this, you would then go to the course itself, and in the course, you would, when you open the course from the dashboard, you would land on this homepage of the course, where you will have a brief description, and that homepage is that page. And here on the right-hand side, you will have table of contents, and we have right now modules that are basically those ones. If only I can draw correctly, but essentially you will have access to Community Cafe, blog, and the news digest on nonviolent conflict, plus Module 1 topics. And then if you go to the course itself, that's where you would see, and I will change myself to students. So then you will see basically those two available sections. On Monday, next Monday, we'll open Module 2 for you to get engaged, and I would like to ask you to start reviewing those two sections, starting from the introduction to Module 1, which describes, I think, in details what you are expected to review in that module. When you go to getting started, you will have a number of units, learning objectives of the course. You can meet participants. We encourage you to fill in the map and locate yourself on the map. A lot of you already done this. Those of you who haven't, we encourage you to include your pin on that map. You can also read more about the moderators, and then some related tips for online learning, requirements, and about ICNC and International Institute for Peace at Rutgers University. Then you can, this is an optional, you can learn more about the computer-based game, and if you would like to play the game, and we encourage everyone to do so, you are expected to select at least one of the campaigns among the 4 campaigns available. And the following weeks will have forums designed specifically for the game, where those of you who would be playing the game can update other participants about how you are doing in the game. And here we've got a challenge to beat the score of one of our alumni, Rachel. Her score was 87. That's the momentum of the movement. Viability was 28. Viability of the regime that she was playing against. So try to beat that score, and keep us updated about your game progress. In Module 1, you are expected to join a number of, actually there are two forums, but we split those forums alphabetically to decrease the number of people in each forum, so it's much easier to interact and review other posts. And you are asked basically to join the corresponding forum based on the letter of your last name, and start posting. You can access that forum, those forums in the discussion. When you go to the discussion, here you've got those forums visible. And let's say I can go to the forum with that people with last names from J to Q who are posting, and I see already a number of posts. I can read those posts. I can follow them, and when I follow, I will get an update by email that someone new posted a response to that post, and I can also post myself. So we strongly encourage you to start interacting in those forums. They are open. Basically, we want you to start posting until Monday when we open the new module. Now, I also wanted to bring your attention to one or two features of that platform. So, for example, when you are reviewing some information, let's take the introduction to Module 1, and the information caught your attention, and you would like to basically highlight that information that caught your attention. You would like to keep that for your kind of memory, and then this is called, the function is called note. So you click on this, you say this is very important. You save it, and And when you go to the top notes, you see this note that was highlighted. You see your own comment, and you see also where that note is taken from, so you can go back to that note and then either you can keep it or you can delete it. So this is one of the functions that will help you with the with learning basically of the content that we develop for you. Now in required readings, you will see the readings that are already assigned for modules starting from the next module in next week. We ask you to review those readings when the modules will become open. So there's no need for you to review all those readings right now, but only when the corresponding modules will be open. And of course, in those modules, we'll have the links to those readings. So, but we wanted to give you the opportunity to view all the readings that we assigned for this class already, and in a kind of very easy way, and in a way that you can access all of them in one place. So each module will have, I'm sorry, it's switching on automatically, and each module will have a troubleshooting survey. We are doing this course on the platform, on the new platform, and we want to get also information from you, how you like that platform, whether there are any problems, technical issues that we need to address in the future, and that's why we would include the surveys, the technical kind of surveys for you to fill in each module. In module 1, you are asked to also fill in the knowledge gain survey, what knowledge on civil resistance you have prior to taking the course, and we will conduct the same survey at the end of the course to measure the learning progress that took place. So we strongly encourage everyone to fill in this initial knowledge gain survey, and again, we will distribute the same similar survey at the end of the course. So that's all in terms of the kind of overview of specific functions that we have here. I will also conclude by mentioning that we developed, based on the feedback from last year, a more kind of interactive small group exercises. So in module 2 next week, we'll introduce you to the first group work that would look into media coverage of nonviolent resistance. And the second small group exercise will be in module 4 and then in module 6. And we have divided you already into groups based on the time zones, because we ask you, apart from interacting with the documents and kind of exchanging notes, we also ask you to connect via video with each other, and that would work best if you are in, if not the same, then in close proximity in terms of the time zones. So we have already divided you into those groups, and we'll send you the information at the beginning of next week, which group you are assigned to. But those groups should increase the interactivity, as well as, I think, more kind of hands-on work that you'll be asked to do. For example, in module 6, in the last group work, you'll be asked to develop and work on developing a campaign against corruption. So you would be asked to think like an activist and practitioner, which a number of you are, and develop viable and strategically focused anti-corruption campaign. So that's all on my end. Amber, I will give you right now the floor. Okay, you took over. Okay, great.
Now I'm sharing the floor actually with Catherine, who is going to conduct this second poll.
Okay, so we have a second poll for you all. You see the answers and the question. What do you hope to gain from this course? First one would be theoretical knowledge about civil resistance. Second, connections with others working in this field. Do you want to gain insights about other nonviolent campaigns in the world? Or the last, knowledge how to mobilize people and organize a movement. So go ahead and let us know how you feel.
Select all that apply. We're at about 60%. We'll give you a couple more seconds so we get to a majority, larger majority.
70. It's good you're thinking about it.
All right, there we go. We're gonna
Okay,
shut
got
down.
it. So it looks like, well, it looks like several things are quite popular. The first one is connections with others working in the field. That's great to know because, as Maciej just mentioned, there'll be some more group work than normal, and a lot of networking options, and then knowledge about how to mobilize people and organize a movement. I can already tell that this group has a lot of kind of activism practitioners, people that are actively engaged, which is really exciting to hear. And then theoretical knowledge is also quite high, so wanting to know the background and what actually works in research and studies. And then insights about other nonviolent campaigns in the world is also almost 80%. So we also will be looking at case studies and samples about what has worked and what is working elsewhere. So that's great, thank you. So Maciej, I'll put it back to you on what the participants can expect from us.
Is Maciej muted?
Yes, thank you. Right. So we have assigned at least 2 moderators per forum who will be reading learners' posts and their contributions. But I have to stress that moderators will not be responding necessarily to each individual participant's post. They will be responding to general themes, ideas that were brought up by the participants, share their own perspectives on the issues that are discussed, and can raise also follow-up questions to the group or to individual participants that whose ideas were particularly striking or may be more development and more kind of elaboration on. Participants will be able to ask content-specific questions to moderators. In that case, time permitted, moderators will then respond directly. But we also set it up a forum, a separate forum in each module where participants can ask questions to moderators that are not related to the content that are discussed in the in other forums. So this is just in case if there are some ideas that are going beyond the thematic focus of specific forums that you would like to address, you will have the kind of a room assigned where you can pose those questions. In fact, you will also have a separate forum which is called Community Cafe, where you can initiate your own discussions with other participants. And I have already seen that 1 or 2 of you initiated some of those discussions, and I would encourage all of you to use the Community Cafe to start your own conversations about the topics that might be very relevant to the course, but it goes beyond the content and discussion forums that are preset already. Staff, of course, ICNC staff, of course, will be available to answer any specific questions that you may have, be it technical or content and content specific, and you can will provide the email addresses, the contact information for you to use at the end of that webinar. As a bonus feature, that would begin from Module 2. After the end of Module 2, we'll be sending a summary that includes highlights from the forum discussions that took place, and we'll be sending this by email for you to refer to those highlights either at the end of this course or long after that course finishes. And we'll be doing that for each module starting from Module 2, sending you those main highlights from the forum discussions.
Great, thank you, Maciej. All right, let's take a quick break to do another poll. This is 3rd of 4 polls. The question is, how do you want to contribute to the course? Go ahead and select any that apply. The first answer is, or response is, share my on-the-ground experience in a nonviolent campaign, offer guidance and support for other participants, encourage less active learners to get involved in the course, And lastly, listen with curiosity and respect to other participants. What you would like to contribute to this course, or what we call a learning community. Give you another couple of seconds. We're only at about half so far, a little bit more.
Going fast. Let's see.
Just 2 or 3 more seconds, and almost there. All right, we can go ahead and close it down. So 100% would like to listen with curiosity and respect to other participants. That's great. Second, sharing your on-the-ground experience in a nonviolent campaign. I think a lot of you are expecting to hear from each other about this sort of experience, so we're very excited to hear that you are willing to share it. And then a little bit less so, but about half of you would like to offer guidance and support for other participants. This course has definitely been used for that in the past, so we would encourage you to utilize the new community that you're entering into for such purposes. And in last place, but not by far, encouraging less active learners to get involved in the course. Thank you very much for your responses. I will turn it now over to Catherine to talk a little bit about the expectations that we have of participants.
So we have found in the past, and I'm sure you've experienced as well, that if expectations are clear as far as what we're offering you and also what we expect from you and what you expect from us, which is the beginning of this whole process, that makes for a much more interesting and engaging process. And so we want to be really clear up front, and then if you have any questions from us about these expectations, please ask those during the question and answer period. The first one is that this class takes your time and energy, and so we're looking at 7 to 10 hours a week during the course, and we're looking for ongoing consistent engagement. So up to an hour or more a day that you spend interacting and keeping up with the course. This active engagement is probably the single most important factor in learning a lot and contributing to the learning of others. As we've just seen, there's going to be a lot of sharing and exchanging information and supporting each other. Secondly, as an active participant in the discussion forums, we're hoping that you'll be willing to discover, to explore, to look for patterns, themes, and new questions. So really kind of analytically taking the course and thinking about what's happening and being engaged. Next, we'd like you to stick to one main topic per post. So as you see what the topic is, try to stick to that, because there'll be a number of different ones that get confusing otherwise, and try to be concise. Say what you need to say, but you don't have to go on and on to be able to do that. Next, make sure that you use your own words and don't just copy lots of text, either of the web when you're doing research, and cutting and pasting that in. We'd really like to hear from you and where you stand in your experience and expertise. If you want people to look at an interesting web page, put a link to it in your forum post so that you don't have to put the whole thing in, but they'll be able to do research and look at what you're talking about, when they have a chance. So that would be important. Next, reach out to the course organizers and the moderators, those of us that are working with you and part of it, and ask each other if you need help, advice, or encouragement. Next, as members of a learning community, as Amber mentioned that term, listen to each other with respect, with compassion, curiosity, even when you may disagree with another participant or see things differently, which we hope will be the case. We hope there'll be a lot of different perspectives and a lot of really good engagement and dialogue. But since 100% of you mentioned listening with curiosity and respect, we can already see there's a commitment to that. Disagreement and robust dialogue is great for learning, which I just mentioned, but also focus on ideas, and please don't engage in personal attacks. That won't be helpful for anyone. Hold stories or personal material in confidentiality outside the group in order to protect identity and security of the other participants that might come from conflict zones. Personally, I know a number of people that have applied in the areas that you're working in, and there are areas that, if people heard about this outside of the course, or even you know, colleagues or government officials, et cetera, this might be very confidential or very sensitive information. So we want everyone to recognize that and to be very careful and to protect that. And then support each other to participate often and well. We'd like you to build meaningful relationships with each other that will last beyond the class. And we've seen this happen again and again. Obviously, based on your responses, we see that you're interested in engaging and that that was a key part of taking the course. So I will pass this over to Amber. Again, any questions will come at the end. And Amber, poll number 4.
Poll number 4. And also just a quick time check. We realize we're over the planned time. We are going to wrap up very quickly after this. It's basically just contact information and questions. So just to let you all know. 4th poll, last poll. How would you like to use the knowledge gained in this course? Looks like you're already voting. Excellent. In campaign organizing, in research and academic writing, in training and coaching, and finally in media, communication, or journalism. Select any that apply. We already see some interesting results coming in, which actually line up a bit with the first webinar. All right, we'll shut it down. Looks like almost everyone. Just like in the first webinar this morning, the most common response was in training and coaching, which is great. Actually, I think campaign organizing as well was the second most common. And then about half in research and academic writing, and then finally in media, communication, and journalism. It's very similar to this morning. Thank you all very much for your responses. In the interest of time, we're going to throw this contact information up on the screen for you. Many of you are already in touch with Daniel Dixon, who is checking the academic initiative inbox. Reach out to him for any questions about course content, participation, and logistics. And our colleague David Reinbold, who has been operating this webinar. Thank you, David.
Hello.
There he is. Okay.
He is happy to field any questions about technical assistance. We will leave it at that. Again, if you would like to ask any questions, we're going to check the chat first, and then we'll take 1 or 2 questions from people who would like to tune in. Let's see.
Amber, in fact, we can already take, I mean, anyone who would like to ask any questions live can raise their hand, and we can start taking the questions.
Okay, great. I don't want to pronounce Angel. Yes, Angel and Hel, if you'd like to go ahead, you're unmuted.
Hi, yes, many thanks to everybody for this opportunity. My question would be, how much of the information that we will be exchanging during the course can I share with other members of the Civic Laboratory for Active Nonviolence, which I am a coordinator of, and other people that are part of the movement that we have here in Caracas, Venezuela?
So I would say that the content that we set up for you all can be shared. We don't have any problems with that. Where probably confidentiality comes into the picture, when the confidentiality comes into the picture is in the forum discussions, in the exchanges that you would have with other participants. And unless you would ask the participants whether their ideas or their comments or their kind of feedback could be shared, and they would have agreed, I would assume that I would say that those exchanges cannot be taken out of the course. But again, in terms of the content, in terms of the readings, this could be easily shared with people that you think may gain from the useful knowledge from this information.
And I'll just add to that, Angel, having worked in the field, totally agree with what Mache just mentioned. And obviously in your country, we know that's one where it is very sensitive right now. And sometimes we haven't even been able to communicate with people, let's say via email, because of the sensitivity right now. And there are a number of people from your country that are other members and participants, as you'll see from the profile, and other countries have the same situation. So it's both important, as Machi said, not to bring out people's names or specific comments or positions outside of the classroom, as well as, you know, across countries. So we're looking at both within and across where things might be sensitive, but definitely all the context can be shared and the contents itself, and we want you to do that for sure.
Thank you. Are there any other people who would like to raise their hand to ask a question on via audio at this point? So we have a question from chat. Would you be able to send the information and announcements that Mache gave, the stuff not related to registration, in written format? It was a lot to process. Yes, we are putting together a frequently asked questions and other information email that we will circulate to you, if not today, then early tomorrow. And we will be able to provide much of the information that...
Right,
yeah.
and Amber, we will also include, we are recording this session, so in fact very soon we'll have this uploaded on our YouTube channel, and then we would include the link to that in the email that we would send to all of you. So you will be able to review this webinar as many times as you need.
Great. In the interest of time, I see one or two last questions. Let's take one at least, and it is, do I understand that the only real-time synchronous interactions are these small group activities every other week? I think Mache would probably be the best person to answer.
Yeah, so we are also, we want to invite one or two speakers, either practitioner or a scholar, to have an introduction to a specific topic that we are covering in a given week, and then that would be another kind of opportunity for real-time interactions for those who would be able to join. Those who won't be able to join, we would record such type of discussion, and we'll post that in our course. But in terms of the dates when that would take place, we are still working to schedule those one or two webinar presentations. And at this moment, the group interactions would be the main ones for the real-time communications with your team.
All right, thank you. I think we have a few, let's see. Another question is just in terms of missing one day, you know, not logging in on one day. What happens? Of course, you know, things come up. The guidance on logging in 1 hour per day is strongly recommended. If you miss a day for whatever reason, emergency, other, you know, we just expect you to make up for that time when you can. But I don't know if Mache would like to add anything to that.
Well, you have to all see this as kind of committing yourself to attending a course, as if it was a live course. If you go to university, you meet in specific times on specific days, and only emergencies you don't go to the course when something, you know, happens that prevents you from attending. And similarly here, when you applied, you committed yourself to attending the course at least for an hour every day, and we would like you to kind of stick to that commitment. Otherwise, it's in fact, when you don't do that, this is to a certain extent negatively impacting your other learners, your teammates, who are posting and not kind of seeing your responses. They are missing on your reflections, and they are missing your responses to their own comments that they made. So the regular participation is as important for you to be able to not to stay behind the content, and we will have quite a lot of content being delivered to you in the coming weeks, but also be respectful of your colleagues who are participating and who would expect to hear from you.
All right, thank you. And yes, the email addresses, I think there's a typo. It is nonviolent-conflict.org. Thank you, Michelle, for pointing that out to us. We are going to, again, thank you for your time. We apologize for going over. We hope that this was helpful for you. We will be following up by tomorrow with a couple of points and a recap. There we go. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, it was about 5 minutes already.